Our news is brought to you by Alive.
Coming up tonight in Our News, a former Defense Force officer defends the Marine killed by police. This as the Marine's family was advised not to push for the release of body cam footage. The PM says the former government made a bad situation worse. And a group of environmentalists calls for oil drilling documents. Welcome to Our News and thank you for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. Top of news tonight, a former Defense Force officer who knew leading seaman Rodney Adderley for 13 years is coming to the defense of the young Marine who was shot and killed by police earlier this week. Adderley's longtime friend says he has many questions about what happened that morning and expressed outrage over comments made by National Security Minister Wayne Monroe. Here's Rika Johnson.
It's a great friend, a comrade, partner, a mentor. I could go on.
Former Defense Force officer Ray Bethel is speaking out in defense of his longtime friend, leading seaman Rodney Adderley, who was shot and killed by police on Monday. Bethel says his friend's character has been assassinated following his tragic death.
If he's mentally ill, how was he able to act in the capacity of an instructor? We both are certified all-arms, skilled arms instructor.
Adderley was shot in Chippenham early Monday. According to the police report, the 39-year-old was sitting in a vehicle marked near a vacant lot on Dunmore Street around 4 a.m. when police arrived following a complaint of a suspicious vehicle. Police said they ordered the man to exit the vehicle. According to the report, he exited and charged at one of the officers and attempted to disarm him, prompting the officer to shoot him.
It's amazing how one word could diminish the character of a Marine, but he worked so hard for 13 years to build on the job. You know, he trained not only young and old officers, but local and international police officers. The statement is why I'm here, because if you do that to him, you do that to all of us who know him.
Minister of National Security Wayne Monroe has faced criticism for telling reporters that Adderley faced mental health challenges. A resident who wanted to remain anonymous suggested that Adderley was acting erratically with officers. However, Bethel insisted he never knew his friend of 13 years to suffer from mental illness. He said no matter the circumstance, officers should have de-escalated the situation.
He was shot all because the officer don't know how to escalate from 1 to 6. He has the right to defend himself, but if all he knows is the gun, that's what he will use.
For our news, I'm Sharika Johnson.
Well, the family of the RBDF Marine shot and killed by police 3 days ago has been advised not to push for the release of the body cam footage showing the incident, according to Commodore Raymond King. He said after viewing the video himself, he doesn't think it's something the family would want in the public domain.
But we sort of guided them against the call to have this video made public, because it could be disturbing to the family. It may not be something that the family wants disclosed to the public.
While expressing his personal grief at the matter, RBDF Commodore Raymond King says the body cam footage of the killing of leading seaman Rodney Adderley is not something he thinks the family wants to be released to the public. The body cam footage from the incident has been viewed by the head of both the Defense Force and Police Force, as well as National Security Minister Wayne Monroe. King has said the footage is consistent with the police report that claims the Marine charged the officers and attempted to disarm one of them, prompting them to shoot him. He was asked if he would have handled the situation differently.
I wish not to make a determination or to place a judgment and to prejudice that matter, because what has been overshadowed is the role of the coroner in this instance. The coroner's job is to look at the video, look at the circumstances, and make a determination whether the use of deadly force was justified or appropriate in that case.
The use of deadly force has been the subject of debate for years following several police-involved shootings. King said whenever officers use deadly force, it is a personal decision, and there is a lot they must keep in mind.
He or she, once they cross that line, they must be satisfied that they would have made the right decision, and they could very likely be held to account by a coroner or a jury of their peers, and only them could explain the circumstances and the fair experience that would have warranted the use of deadly force.
Adderley was described as a decorated Marine. His family spent most of Tuesday seeking to view the body cam footage. A relative told Arrow News they want to see, if only for some clarity. Commodore King said in a meeting with them, he explained that they'd be able to see it, but during the coroner's inquest.
They were relatively satisfied with understanding that process. They were more concerned with the timeline of when it may occur. And we explained to them that those are the protocols, as well as they may have the option of seeking legal representation and petitioning the coroner's court, whereby they may have access to the video or just as well as they may not.
On Tuesday, National Security Minister Wayne Monroe said the Marine had some issues and that the force tried to help him numerous times. King said that kind of personal information being released was also a concerning issue the family raised when he met with them.
I see it as privileged information between a physician, a medical professional, and a client. So I would want to refrain from any comment in terms of his medical condition without consent of the family. That was one of the things the family was concerned about when I met with them, was the disclosure of information of such nature without the consent of the family.
In other news, Prime Minister Philip Davis accusing the former administration of shattering the Bahamian people's trust and confidence and making a bad economic situation worse by mismanaging the pandemic. Jason Brown has more.
The Prime Minister delivering his frank assessment of the former government's performance during its 4.5 years in office as he gave the keynote address at the 31st Annual Bahamas Business Outlook. He called it facing up to the difficult truths.
We remain in the midst of a health crisis spawned by the COVID-19 pandemic. And we remain in the midst of an economic crisis, the genesis of which lies in some very poor economic decision-making during the last 4.5 years, which was made worse by Hurricane Dorian and COVID.
Davis insisted that many Bahamians now doubt whether the government is fit and able to set the country on the path to health and prosperity.
Poor governance not only made a bad situation much, much worse, but shattered trust and confidence throughout many sectors of our community and among the Bahamian people. It says something about the mental state of the country that when the Prime Minister indicates he wishes to address the nation, people's anxiety levels will soar. People are still terrified of some new arbitrary announcement, apprehensive about a loss of a sense of urgency over their own lives, loss of earnings, and loss of fundamental constitutional rights.
Davis also says his administration is determined to do all it can to dispel those fears and restore trust and confidence while also dealing with the ongoing economic crisis.
We continue to make every effort to keep our promises. We don't just rashly implement a plan, but we pilot it, then roll it out carefully and thoughtfully so that the plan actually works.
In addition to pointing out what he saw as the previous administration's shortfalls, Davis highlighted what he sees as his government's accomplishments. He pointed to initiatives like the rollout of free COVID-19 testing and the reduction of value-added tax from 12% to 10% as key accomplishments during their first 100 days in office. Reporting for our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, opposition leader Michael Pintard hit back at Davis, asserting his party has already won the election and it's time to get off the rally stage. Berthany McDermott reports.
He's won already. His team has won. To get off the rally stage, looking backwards, and let us be forward-looking in terms of pulling all stakeholders together.
During his address at the 2022 Business Outlook, Prime Minister Philip Davis said the former administration shattered the Bahamian people's trust and confidence. But Free National Movement leader Michael Pintard said fatigue is inevitable and said it's something Davis has already learned given his last few months in office.
I think the Prime Minister is quickly learning after only being in office from the 16th or so of September that Bahamians are becoming fatigued of continued talks by himself or his representative, and yet the numbers continue to increase. So it is fairly easy for the population to develop a degree of cynicism and distrust for government officials.
Speaking to the COVID fight, Pintard also called the Prime Minister's attack on the former administration's handling of the global pandemic a misuse of press time.
There are several things that he's able to do, and that is one, to move aggressively to get more therapeutics on island in order to treat persons who are afflicted. 2, to ensure that he get more tests on island so that we can truly have widespread testing, preferably with PCRs, but in the absence of being able to do that cost effectively with the antigen test, but in a widespread way.
He added that the monitoring of events and enforcement should also be beefed up and renewed the call for the opposition to be included in health briefings. Pintard stressed that the Bahamian people are now looking to the Davis administration.
Because at the end of the day, they want to know, can you introduce measures that will help the numbers decrease rather than increase, help hospitalizations decrease rather than increase, slow and then eventually stop the loss of precious lives. And when you are unable to do that, but you continue to speak as if you are an authority on the subject, Bahamians become fatigued.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
Cool conditions heading into the weekend. Meteorologist Greg Thompson joins us with the first look at weather.
Thanks, Kyle, and welcome everybody for our first look at weather, brought to you tonight by Ports International. Trusted medical supplies for a better quality of life. If you've been enjoying these cool temperatures, well, we added once again tonight. Temperatures near the 70-degree mark under partly cloudy skies. Those clouds are clearing out. Winds are blowing out of the northwest. We're now getting that nice cool air mass moving into our area at 9 miles per hour, and your feels-like temperature in the upper 60s. Satellite view, low pressure system that tried to form just to the east of the island. It's actually formed well to the east of Florida Peninsula, dragging a cold front across the area. We're seeing some clouds and some showers early today, but we will be clearing out later on as this cloud mass exits the area and a nice dry air mass moves in place. That's your first look at weather. Your extended forecast is still to come.
Still to come, COVID cases spike on the Defense Force and the economy in recovery mode. Find out more after this break.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
A group of environmentalists who fought against oil drilling in the Bahamas is calling on Prime Minister Philip Davis to release all documents relating to Challenger Energy Group's exploration efforts. Our Island, Our Future, which is a coalition of environmental groups, wrote a letter seeking a full breakdown of fees paid and owed to the government. Brief Executive Director Cassarina McKinney-Lambert says the group wants oil drilling in the Bahamas to be banned.
Now is not the time to get involved in oil drilling. And there's a huge opportunity to demonstrate our commitment to sustainability as a country, our commitment to climate action, our commitment to protecting the lives and livelihoods of our fishermen and our tourism industry by actually putting a ban on oil drilling and saying, hey, we're going to be the country that's powered by the sun, we're going to be powered by the wind, we are not going to embark on a path of oil exploration.
Now, according to the letter, this is the fourth request for information related to plans, licenses, government approvals, activities, and reports surrounding CEG's operations in Bahamian waters during 2020 and early 2021. However, the group says it never received a response.
The request for information is pertaining to the drill report. That has not yet been made available to the public to understand how much drilling material was put out into the ocean. We also know that there were problems with the drill. They took longer than expected and didn't reach the depth that was expected. So there were definitely issues that happened that have not been made available to the public.
The Royal Bahamas Defense Force battling its fair share of COVID-19 cases. Commodore Dr. Raymond King says the force saw a spike in cases towards the end of the year and the beginning of January.
With the onset of the Omicron variant, our numbers escalated to the extent that the average cases average 131, personal quarantine 77. Our positivity rate increased up to 11%, and our recovery rate declined to 81%.
While the Commodore insists 30% of cases on the force were the result of family gatherings, another 45% were workplace transmissions, and 25% were due to travel. There was a Christmas party on the Defense Force base, but Commodore King insisted health protocols were followed.
Persons had to demonstrate their vaccination status, an antigen test result, and social distancing. And so, while I can't rule out whether, even exercising those protocols, whether transmission would have occurred, but we allowed the messes to have their functions with the enforcement of those health protocols.
Well, 2022 will be another year of recovery for the economy, according to Central Bank Governor John Roll, who gave his assessment of the next 12 months during the 31st Annual Bahamas Business Outlook.
When we look at 2022 and even the period just beyond, our economy is still going to be very much in a recovery mode. And in that recovery mode, we're benefiting most from the restoration of activities in the tourism sector and continued push from foreign investment activities.
The economy has been in a slump since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic, when tourism came to a near standstill, forcing hotels and other businesses to temporarily close their doors. As the country heads into the third year of the pandemic, the nation's #1 industry continues to see a robust recovery. Roll says that means a quicker bounce back than was previously predicted.
It's expected that in 2022, the Bahamas will grow anywhere in the region of 8% or slightly above that. And that really reflects still trying to get back to where we were in 2019. And we're expected to conclude this recovery to 2019 sometime in 2023.
When we come back, travel costs for a Dubai trip called a justified investment. And Coach Yo and the Lady Rebels face off against Alabama. Stay tuned.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
This is Our News. Welcome back. Over 100 people representing the Bahamas are headed to Dubai for the World Expo, hosted by the United Arab Emirates. That number is a reduced figure, according to Director of Communications in the Office of the Prime Minister, Letray Ramming, and includes local artisans, government officials, and a gospel choir. When asked about how much this trip will cost Bahamian taxpayers, Ramming could not give a figure, but called it a justified investment.
This group comprised of Bahamian talent and choirs and bands and musicians, also the cultural artisans of our country. And we want to show that we have talent in our country. And I think that it is a justified investment when we give our people exposure on the world stage so people could see the talent.
The Bahamas is set to have a major showing at the World Expo, expected to advertise many countries around the world. Ramming said the UAE handled part of the cost.
The cost, remember that this actual event is sponsored by the Dubai government and private sector partners. I think there's some element that the government of the Bahamas would have helped with, but the significant portion of the trip was sponsored by the government of Dubai.
Our News will be in Dubai, bringing you daily coverage from the Expo beginning this weekend. Well, Buddy Hield and the Kings snap a 5-game losing skid as Coach Yo leads the Lady Rebels against Alabama tonight. Marcellus Hall has more in sports.
All right, welcome to our sports, everybody. I'm Marcellus Hall. The Sacramento Kings, well, they've had a difficult time of it this year. Wins have been far and in between. Buddy Hield and his team looking to snap a 5-game losing skid last night. Let's see how they did. Buddy Hield and the Sacramento Kings looking to snap a 5-game losing skid as they hosted the LA Lakers on a Wednesday night. Kings trailing at the half by 6, but oh, what a difference a second half can make. They come roaring back and actually led by 6 late in the ball game. Lakers pull within 2, but that would not be enough. Despite 30-plus points, 34 points from LeBron James, Kings getting the win, 125 to 116 to improve their record to 17-27 on the year. They're still in 11th place in the Western Conference. The loss drops the Lakers to 8th now. As for Buddy, not a good night shooting for him as far as the scoring department. He played 28 minutes, had 10 points, 4 rebounds, and 1 assist in the game. But as far as the shooting is concerned, just shot 4 of 8 from the field, only took 8 shots, making half of them, so that's not too bad. Made 2 of his 5 3-pointers on the evening. Most importantly, like we said, the Kings do get the win here, and they will look to see if they can ride that momentum heading into their next matchup, which, by the way, comes your way on Friday when they take on the Houston Rockets, again in Sacramento.
And there it is, your check on sports for you here on this Thursday. We've got a look at how Coach Yo and Ole Miss ladies do tonight. They play Alabama. We'll give you details on that game coming up for you tomorrow. Meanwhile, I'm Marcellus Hall. Back to you.
Still ahead, Fusion Superplex honors Sir Sidney Poitier with free admission to 6 of his films next week. Stay with us.
Welcome to our news and thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight.
COVID-19 remains a serious threat.
Coronavirus COVID-19 has disrupted our economy, tourism industry, educational system, and put our healthcare facilities and professionals on high alert. Are you prepared? Do you have all the facts? Stay tuned to this network for the very latest news and information on this global pandemic.
Welcome back to Our News. A mixture of sun and clouds this weekend. Greg is back with the extended weather forecast.
Thanks again, Kyle, and welcome back, everybody, for our second look at weather. That low-pressure system that formed to the east of the Florida Peninsula, moving out towards the north and east. Frontal boundary dragging across the northwest Bahamas earlier today, but we're watching another frontal boundary to the north of that across central Florida. That is the actual arrival of the cool air mass that we should be getting here by the weekend. Very conditions expected. Cool, if you like, the cool weather for the next couple of days. And yet again, we expect another frontal boundary getting here sometime on Sunday. So we are going to see an extended period of nice, cool and comfortable conditions for the next several days. Boating forecast. It's going to be very rough out there tomorrow. The winds are going to be out of the northwest at 15 to 20 knots. They will be gusting high across the extreme northern islands, up to about 30 knots. Sea is 4 to 7 feet, but high across the extreme northern islands. You can expect a low tide at 10:47 tonight. Here's a look now at your national forecast. A look now at your extended forecast through Thursday. An extended period of 70-degree temperatures expected over the next couple of days. Make sure you enjoy it. Back to you, Kat.
If you've never had the privilege of seeing Sir Sidney Poitier's films on the big screen, here's your chance. Starting Monday, Fusion Superplex will play 6 classic films starring the legendary Bahamian American actor free of charge. Director of Sales and Marketing Johansi Kemp said the aim of To Sidney with Love is to introduce young Bahamians to his most iconic films and to showcase his award-winning talent.
We were going to do a tribute anyway to Sir Sidney, but we were going to do it Independence, the week of Independence. So upon his death, we felt it fitting that we do the tribute now to remind Bahamians of what exactly it is we've lost, because to many younger Bahamians, Sir Sidney is only a name. They may not have seen his movies, they may not have known his impact in the world of entertainment, not just here in the Bahamas, but globally.
Sir Sidney died last week at age 94. He was the first black man to win the Oscar for Best Actor. Over the course of 6 days, viewers can watch In the Heat of the Night, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, To Sir with Love, Lilies of the Field, Let's Do It Again, and Uptown Saturday.
Starting off with The Heat in the Night, you're talking about a film that is still relevant to this day with the social injustices and for equal equality in the workplace and so forth and so on. Then you have Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and many people can relate to that story. When you look at the lineup that was chosen, each movie depicts a different place and time, but it's still relevant to this day.
Well, thank you for joining us for Our News Tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Kyle Joaquin. Have a good evening, Bahamas.